And some public health groups are opposing the Trans-Pacific Partnership. They say the trade deal could delay the introduction of generic drugs and decrease competition, which of course would raise drug prices even further. For more on this, let's turn to Lori Wallach. She's a director of Public Citizens Global Trade Watch. Lori, good to have you with us tonight. The consumer does not want to hear decreased competition. How would this trade deal provide that?
So they call it a trade deal, but it's just packed with different corporate boondoggles and rights. And one of the things that's in there is an extended monopoly right for the big pharmaceutical companies to charge any price they want on medicines versus allowing generic competition.
So this means that if this deal goes through, the pharmaceuticals are going to have the green light to do whatever they want when it comes to pricing generic drugs.
They've got stuffed in there 4 or 5 different ways that they could extend their monopoly and keep prices jacked up. They're like different cuts of it. It's not just one way they've got it in there. They've got it in there a bunch of ways. I mean, it's kind of an irony, right? Free trade agreement, as if, because this is clearly protectionism for big pharmaceutical companies.
So the advocates of the Trans-Pacific Partnership are saying that this will bring down prices. How can they make that argument?
They don't have a close allegiance to the truth.
Bottom line.
Bottom line. I mean, if you look at the agreement and you actually look at the patent provisions, you're clearly going to have extensions of patent monopolies. But even more so, there's another chapter that hasn't been in past agreements that would give the big pharmaceutical companies new rights to challenge the decisions by Medicare and Medicaid about what kind of medicines they want to reimburse in government programs. And that provision would shut the door for future reform where the government could go to the companies and say, hey, we're bargaining about this price. That would just be shut down.
So let me be the cynic here, okay? The drug prices have nearly doubled in 5 years. The pharmaceuticals have been negotiating the Trans-Pacific Partnership for 5 years. Has this been their sales pitch? Let's raise the price, let's get on board, all of us together, raise the prices, and then come back and sell TPP saying that this is going to bring competition to the market and it's going to bring the prices down and we're going to really have a lock on it.
So they don't actually say it'll bring down prices on drugs. What the argument is that ostensibly if there are more imports in other products, the consumer prices will go down. So just to be clear, what they're talking about is if we offshore more of our jobs and bring in slave labor and sweatshop imports, stuff at Kmart will be cheaper. Okay. That's what they're saying. They're not talking about cheaper drugs.
And explain to our audience the generic drug market and the importing of the generic drug market. How would that change under this agreement if it goes through?
So the deal with generic drugs is when a brand name drug company gets approved, they do tests to show the medicine is efficacious, that it doesn't have bad, dangerous side effects, and then they get a patent for a certain period of time to be the only one to sell it. But then when that patent's coming up, anyone can go look at that data and say, I'm going to use the same information and I'm going to get the same chemical formula and I'll make a generic version. So when their monopoly patent is up, I can compete with them and bring down the price. Think of how much ibuprofen costs when it was just an arthritis drug by prescription. $12 a pill. You can now buy 200 of them for $12 as Motrin or Nuprin. That's a generic, that's the patented drug. So the price difference is enormous. What the TPP would do is make it so that you can't get the data to be able to actually show it's safe and get your drug, or you can't get past the patents because it'll be extended beyond the 20 years that's already there. And so it basically means that we'll be paying those ridiculous prices per pill instead of paying basically the same amount for a whole bottle of the same medicine if we had generic competition, because they just won't be able to make the generics under these rules.
All right, Lori Wallach, Global Trade Watch, great to have you with us tonight. Thanks so much for joining us.